What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzlie, home of Memphis X, and I talk hoops. Today, we are talking about the next Grizzlies starting small forward. But first, every hero needs their theme music.
KeyAno.
Grizz gang, go hard. Baddest in the game, we be on one. I talk hoops, so secure. All up on the court, but we gon' score. Memphis bringing heat straight from Tennessee. Demo respect and let's go, boy. He that MVP.
Well, it is time to really get into what the Grizzlies need for this offseason. And everybody knows, everybody in the NBA knows, the number one glaring need for the Memphis Grizzlies is a starting small forward to replace Dillon Brooks. Now, I will admit, watching the rest of the playoffs since the Grizzlies have got eliminated has kind of calmed me down on the season that they had and the expectations for next year and all these things. Because the one thing that I realize is the Grizzlies are super young, still inexperienced. You look at the teams that are in the playoffs now, that are still in the playoffs, the Lakers, the Celtics, the Nuggets, and the Heat. These teams have gone through 6+ years as teams or individuals through playoff wars and everything. They are not 23-year-old youngins in their second or third playoff run. These guys have been through it for the long haul, and therefore they have a base level of consistency or knowing the consistency needed to make it deep in the playoffs. So, with that being said, I have changed my feelings on the Grizzlies going all in on any veteran over the age of, let's say, 26, 27 years old. I think the Grizzlies are not close enough right now where they are going to be able to contribute. Well, they might be able to contribute when the Grizzlies are trying to make it to the finals, NBA finals, but I think the Grizzlies are 2 to 3 seasons away from that, at least. So getting somebody in their 30s and even maybe their late 20s might be a stretch, but we have to remember these are going to be short runs. So you are going to see what my philosophy is for this offseason. And it's probably going to be different than what's actually going to happen because, of course, Kleiman has already stated what he plans to do this offseason. But you know what? Plans can change depending on the opportunities that come up. So first, we're going to stick with what Kleiman really intends to do this offseason or what he plans to do this offseason, and that is to trade for an impact small forward to go with Ja, Jaren, and Desmond Bane. Of course, that leaves the rest of the roster and their picks in total to try to make that happen for as little as possible for the best available small forward option. So the first small forward option is everybody's number one favorite for the Grizzlies to get, and that is Mikal Bridges of the Brooklyn Nets. Now, Mikal Bridges, of course, is a guy that has already gone through some playoff battles with the Phoenix Suns. He is a plus defender, an elite, almost elite defender. He is not really a stopper type defender, especially against more physical wings and like the bigger forwards out there. But he is very good, especially against, point of attack guys, and being part of a defensive cog, he is an elite in that way. Also, he's an elite shooter and finisher, so he is very efficient on offense and has shown in his stay last season in Phoenix and in Brooklyn that he can rev up his offensive game to varying levels depending on the situation. So without a doubt, he is the number one option for every Grizzly fan that's out there. the number one reasonable option for every Grizz fan out there. Like, I don't think we have a chance at somebody like Jaylen Brown. I don't think we are going to put that much into getting a small forward. So, Mikal Bridges is the number one option. And honestly, they turned down 4 first-round picks at the deadline for Mikal Bridges. So, I don't know what the price would be. 6 first-round picks, 5 first-round picks, and swaps. I don't know what it is. But Mikal Bridges is probably one of the few guys that I would consider going all in for because he signed long-term to a cheap contract. It would give Grizzlies probably 2 of the top 5 contracts in the NBA. He can defend, he can shoot, he's smart, and he's tough. So he has all the requisite things that I would want somebody the Grizzlies actually go all in on. Next up, you have OG Anunoby. Now, OG Anunoby is a guy that also is on Grizzlies fans' radar. Like Mikal Bridges, he is a very, very plus defender. He is one of the elite defenders in the NBA. And unlike Mikal Bridges, he is a physical specimen. He is capable of guarding anywhere from 1 through 4 and some 5s if needed. He is real forward size and length, and he can actually be played at power forward sometimes in small ball lineups. He can actually shoot, especially corner threes, spot up corner threes. He is a good shooter. He's not much of a creator, but, it is what it is with that. You can't get everything. And the only issues with him is the price is going to be high. Not as high as Mikal, but it's going to be high. And he's only signed for 1 more season. And then he has a player option that he will no doubt decline. And then he will be properly paid, as they say in NBA parlance. And that should be anywhere from around $25 million or more. And then, he will be well wanted in the free agency market. So it's something that the Grizzlies have to think about if they sign him to a deal or if they trade for him. Third on my list, and probably not on most people's list, is somebody that's older, and I know that contradicts what I said earlier, but I don't think he's going to be as expensive as the other options, and that's Bojan Bogdanovic from the Detroit Pistons. I think that he is a guy that can play various roles for the Grizzlies, off the bench, starting small forward, power forward. He can be a stopgap guy until one of the young guys are able to take on the role full time. He is an elite shooter. He can create. His defense isn't that great, but the Grizzlies won't need him to be a great defender. He's got physical size, especially at small forward, and he is playoff proven. So that is something that is real good on him. And my fourth and final trade option is a dark horse candidate, and really somebody that's not really on the radar of most Grizzlies fans, and that is Chris Middleton of the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I know with Chris Middleton, he is way over the ages that I was talking about, but this is a guy that I say that you go get if and only if you can get him cheaply. Now, everybody knows the Milwaukee Bucks are about to be experiencing some cap problems, and, they're going to have to reshuffle their roster. So it's probably not going to be in their best interest to sign or re-sign Chris Middleton, who's been kind of injury-prone for the last couple seasons, to a long-term lucrative offer. But if the Grizzlies can get him and get him to agree to a reasonable short extension, I think that would be a great option to be, like Bojan Bogdanovic, a stopgap small forward option until one of the young guys is ready to take the mantle. So those are my trade targets for the Grizzlies. It's just 4 trade targets. The rest of them, of course, you can go plethora of trade targets. You can go Zach LaVine, Jaylen Brown. You can go to a lot of players. Originally, I had Larry Markkinen on here, and he would have been right there, even with Mikal Bridges as a target. But listening to the Utah, fans and beat writers, it seems like they value him very highly, and I don't think he's going to be available. My notion on his availability is that I don't think Danny Ainge wants to be in the middle of the pack again and have the number 11, 12 pick or whatever they have this season. So let's get to my preferable way to solve our starting small forward problem, and that is through the 2023 NBA draft. And I know Kleiman said that he was not going to double down on draft picks. Hopefully that means he's just not going to bring in 4 or 5 guys like he did last year, but he would be open to bringing in one elite prospect capable of being the starting small forward, sort of like in the vein of Zaire Williams, who I think still has a chance to knock that position out. So my number one guy, as you see it on the thumbnail, is Leonard Miller of the G League Ignite. And Leonard Miller is one of the few guys, he's the only guy out of all these 8 options that I'm going to present, out of all the other 8 options that I'm going to present, that is not an established shooter. Now, the reason why I like Leonard Miller at small forward is because he's 6'11" with a 7'2" wingspan, and he is an elite rebounder who loves to rebound. Also, he is a plus ball handler and creator at 6'11", and at the small forward position, I can just imagine having a lineup with 6'11" Leonard Miller at the small forward, 6'11" Santi Aldama at the power forward, and 7-foot tall Jaren Jackson at the center position. And then you can have 6'11"-ish Zaire Williams at shooting guard and just swallow people down with length. Now, this is 2 or 3 years down the road when the Grizzlies will be ready to go through playoff wars, and just having this amount of length on the court and then having other guys, come off the bench like David Roddy with a 7-foot wingspan, Vince Williams with a 7-foot wingspan, other guys with length coming off the bench, is going to do wonders for their defense, even if these guys are not elite defenders off the bat. But what I really value is Leonard Miller's rebounding tenacity, and I think that pairs up very well with Jaren Jackson's lack of rebounding. I think it's a match made in heaven, and I think if he can get down into the 11 or lower range in the draft, the Grizzlies might have a chance to trade up for him. I'm not sure if he's their type of player, but he is exactly the kind of guy that I would like. The kind of guy I've been trying to get the Grizzlies to get the last few drafts, but they haven't been able to trade up for him. I wanted them to get Franz Wagner. I wanted them to get Jeremy Sohan, but these were guys that they couldn't get up for in the draft. So maybe the third time's the charm, and they can get up for Leonard Miller. Second has been the guy that has been my favorite draft prospect the whole entire draft cycle, and that is Grady Dick. Now, the reason why I love Grady Dick is because he's 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" wingspan, and he is an elite shooter. And I'm talking about his shooting is better than Desmond Bane. He is in the Luke Kennard category of shooting, and I know Luke Kennard and Desmond Bane are similar shooters, but I think Grady Dick has a great chance of being better than both of them as shooters, especially when you combine his size, his ability to shoot off the move, his ability to he doesn't really have a great ability to create yet, but also he has good finishing ability, and his size is going to allow him to become an effective defender eventually. Although he's not right now, he's a guy that does get a lot of steals and deflections and things like that. So to me, he is a great prospect for small forward. Third on the prospect list is Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State University. And I like him for most of the same reasons why I like Grady Dick. He is an elite shooter. And I mean, he can shoot under duress, over tight closeouts, everything. He is very large. I think he's 6'6", 6'7", about 230 pounds. He's a big guy. He's a physical guy. He can create off the dribble, one of the best creators in his draft. He can get his jump shot anywhere. The only issue with him is his defense, which is a mess. But it really isn't a problem for me because now he's not an elite rebounder like Leonard Miller, but he is a plus rebounder already. He was a very good rebounder in college. He has physical size. He has somebody, that physical size that I like and that physicality I like and that ability to get his shot off even in close quarters is exactly what playoff basketball is built for, especially when he's going to be a secondary guy, unlike at Ohio State where he was a primary. Now, as a secondary guy, Bryce Sensabaugh is going to really be able to make shots. His shooting profile in college was ridiculous. Very great shooter. I mean, he looks the part of a generational shooter. So you guys know how much I value shooting in prospects now with the NBA going this way. And as you see with how the NBA playoffs are going, the teams that can shoot the best throughout their roster are the teams that are advancing. And when you have hiccups in your shooting, it is usually meaning that you are about to get eliminated from the NBA playoffs. So fourth and finally, we have Dariq Whitehead of the Duke Blue Devils. Now, Dariq Whitehead is a guy that I kind of really like coming into the draft process. He was thought of as a top 10, sometimes top 5 pick in this draft. But he had injuries coming into this college season, and he just had surgery already. So he looked a little bit less athletic in college than he is. But history has shown us that when guys get a year or two removed from surgery, some of that athleticism returns. But one thing that Dariq Whitehead does have is he has nice size, nice wingspan, and he can shoot. Now, during his high school days, he's shown the ability to create a little bit. But you got to remember, on the Grizzlies, he's not going to be asked to be a primary guy. He is going to be asked to be a guy that can make open shots. And I think he can really excel at that, especially at the NBA level. Now, it might take, like I said, with any rookies, you guys know we've had so many rookies this year. We got spoiled with Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, and the like. We got spoiled with some of the guys that climbed and drafted that produced so quickly. But the number one, the regular routine of NBA rookies is it takes a few years. So, like I said, even with the guys that are on the Grizzlies team now, Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, Zaire Williams, Vince Williams, Kenny Lofton Jr., these are guys that you have to have patience with. Don't give up with them just because they had a rough rookie season or a rough sophomore season. These things happen, and this is not a reason to write these guys off. So even though I think going the rookie route or the draft route to solve the long-term starting small forward position, I also understand that even if you go that route, you're probably going to have to sign or trade for a veteran small forward to absorb those minutes, unless you are quite sure, like they were with Santi Aldama, that one of those 4 guys, and those 4 guys I mentioned are Zaire Williams, Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, Vince Williams. One of those 4 guys is ready to step up adequately at the small forward position while the other guys get ready. So those are my 8 guys that I think the Grizzlies should target for the starting small forward position. Let me know who is your favorite guy to target for the Grizzlies starting small forward position, and not just for next year, but I'm talking long-term, somebody that can grow with our trio of Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Desmond Bane. Let me know in the comment section. Peace.